Most people don't struggle because they don't take action. They struggle because they take action before they understand themselves. Learn why this step is vital if you're in a transition right now. Welcome to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast, a podcast helping women in career and life transitions achieve clarity on their next steps so they can transform uncertainty into an energizing next chapter. I'm your host, Kavita Ahuja, and the founder of It's My Time Now Coaching. If you're wondering what's next in your career or life, you are in the right place. Through solo and guest episodes, you'll gain practical tips, tools, and inspiration to help you uncover blocks, gain confidence, and be, do, and have what you want. I rediscovered myself after the age of 50, and I know you can too. It's my time now to help you do just that. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. I hope you're doing really well. If you're listening because something in your life or career has shifted, whether it's happened suddenly, perhaps like a layoff, menopause, possibly a health scare or divorce, retirement, or an empty nest, for example, or whether it's just been building quietly inside you for a while, a sense that your life no longer fits the way it used to, I'm speaking directly to you today. Because when transitions happen, the pressure to figure it out can feel very intense. You might feel like you should already know what to do next. You might be comparing yourself to others who seem to move forward more easily. Or you might be worried that if you don't act soon, you'll waste time or make the wrong choice. And yet, the harder you try to think your way out of it, the more confused or stuck you feel. In this episode, you'll discover why transitions don't fail because you lack motivation or discipline, the 3 phases of every transition and why skipping one creates confusion, self-doubt, or regret, how to recognize which phase you're in right now, and why clarity and confidence doesn't come from forcing a decision, but from understanding what this phase of life is actually asking of you. By the end of this episode, you'll be able to locate yourself in the transition and understand why what you've tried so far may not have worked. So if you're feeling unsettled, uncertain, or quietly questioning what comes next without wanting to rush into the wrong move, stay with me until the end. Let's talk about how transitions begin. Most transitions begin with a trigger. Sometimes those are external. Something happens that disrupts the life that you once knew. Your role in your work may have been eliminated. Perhaps you have health changes, and that could be due to menopause, but sometimes shifts your energy in a way you didn't even expect. Maybe your kids have now left the home and are going to college, or maybe you have experienced a divorce or a relationship that has ended. And you didn't choose this transition or this trigger, but suddenly you're in it. And you feel so much pressure to make sense of what's next. Other times, this trigger is internal. Again, nothing dramatic has happened. You're still capable and still performing and still functioning, but inside something has shifted. Your work that once fit doesn't seem to energize you anymore. You feel restless or disengaged without a clear reason. Your values have evolved, but your life hasn't caught up with them yet. And because there's no obvious explanation, you may tell yourself you shouldn't feel this way, that you should just push through. But whether the trigger is loud or quiet, external or internal, it leads you to the same realization. The old way forward doesn't quite fit anymore. Every transition moves through 3 phases. And I've talked about this before, but it's worth repeating this. Even if no one ever names them for you, they are three phases. The first phase is the trigger, and this is the disruption that I just spoke of. The moment that something changes in your old identity or role or direction begins to crack. And at this stage, your nervous system wants more clarity and certainty, and it often wants it fast. So you may feel an urge to act immediately, to make a decision, to regain control, even if you don't know yet what that decision should be. Phase two of a transition is the in between phase, and this is the phase most people struggle with the most. You're no longer who you were, but you're not yet clear on who you're becoming. And this is where you might find yourself questioning things that once felt solid: your confidence, your direction, even your own sense of self. You may feel stuck, uncertain, or emotionally drained, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're navigating unfamiliar territory without a map. And phase three is action. And this is where most people believe they should actually start. And action does matter, but here's a nuance. When action is taken too early, whether it's from fear or urgency or exhaustion, it often doesn't stick. That's when you take a step only to find yourself months later asking the same questions again. But here's what's important, something really important to understand, my friend, is that action doesn't wait until the end of a transition, but the type of action changes at each phase. In the early stages, action isn't about making big decisions. It's about small, intentional steps that move you forward and increase your anabolic or positive energy. And that opens clarity and trust and possibilities. That might look like noticing where your energy is consistently being drained and where it lifts, or creating space to reflect instead of rushing to decide, or allowing curiosity without needing immediate answers. And this is where my process of rediscovery, called the Pyramid of Reinvention, becomes very vital, because it gives structure to that in between phase without any pressure. The Pyramid of Reinvention process exists because of this in between phase of a transition where we need guidance. In this Pyramid of Reinvention, the first step is really rediscovery. And this is where you reconnect with who you are now, not who you were years ago. Often, when you're here, you may feel disconnected from your strengths, unsure of what energizes you anymore, or unclear about what actually matters at this stage of life. Rediscovery looks at your satisfaction across different areas of your life. It looks at your strengths. It looks at your changing values. And it looks at your buried passion, or what quietly lights you up. And those are often so buried that we don't remember them. And it's not to label you, it's there to reconnect you to yourself. And action here might be small but meaningful. Noticing patterns, making adjustments, like if you learn that you're very passionate about exercise or art, you might be including that more into your life. And that becomes immediately more aligned. And also naming what no longer fits. Once we do these exercises, uncovering your strengths, your passions, and your values, this is where Ikigai begins to emerge. Ikigai, or your reason for being, emerges as an overlap between these rediscovered strengths, passions, values, and understanding of what your world needs and how you can uniquely contribute to that. And that realization opens up so much anabolic energy. And once you have reconnected with yourself and understood what your reason for being, or Ikigai, is, the next step is visioning. This is often when you realize how little you actually trust your own inner voice, especially if you've been making decisions based on expectations or responsibility for a long time. Visioning reconnects you with your inner mentor, the part of you that holds wisdom beyond fear and overthinking, the part of you that lives in the future. Action here looks like listening inwards and testing your resonance and allowing clarity to unfold rather than forcing it. Step 3 is really about looking at your obstacles, and this is where things get very real. Most obstacles don't show up as obvious fear, they actually show up as logic. And that's where we often talk to ourselves. You might be telling yourself that you can't explore something new because your family depends on you, because you've worked so hard to build stability, or because it would be irresponsible to disrupt what you've already created. You may notice thoughts that sound like this. What if I make the wrong choice? What if I regret this? What if I actually disappoint people? These are assumptions. These are interpretations and beliefs that once protected you, but now quietly limit you. Do you relate to any of these? When you slow down enough to see them, they lose their grip. And the action here is noticing, questioning, and reframing these beliefs. And that often creates immediate, energetic release. The next step is really to build your confidence. And most people think they've lost their confidence in a transition. But more often, what's missing is certainty. You've been asked to move forward without a familiar map, so of course, confidence feels different. Confidence returns as you take this aligned action, as you see yourself follow through, and you rebuild your trust in your own signals, not because you force yourself to be brave, but because clarity is taking root. And the fifth step is action and accountability. By this phase, action feels very different. It is not rushed or reactive. It's grounded in clarity and supported by accountability. Accountability isn't about pressure. It's about having someone reflect patterns back to you, who helps you notice what you're not seeing yourself, and supporting you as you take action, reflect, and recalibrate. This is often what makes the difference between change that fades and change that actually sticks. So let me bring this kind of full circle for you. When I started, I said that transitions don't fail because you lack motivation or discipline. They fail because we rush to action before understanding ourselves. If you've been listening and thinking about your own situation, whether you're newly triggered, whether you're stuck in the in-between, or frustrated because you've already taken action that didn't last, nothing you're experiencing is random. It's information. And once you understand which phase you're in and what kind of support that phase actually needs, the confusion starts to make sense and the pressure to rush begins to soften. So let me ask you this. Are you in phase 1, newly triggered and unsure what to do? Are you in phase 2, feeling lost because you don't know how to navigate this space? Or are you in phase 3 and have already taken action that didn't feel quite right or didn't stick? If you're recognizing yourself here, you don't have to navigate this alone. Often it takes someone who has not only lived through a transition and learned exactly how to navigate it, but someone who can make you accountable to follow through and make sustainable change, which can quite literally alter the course of your life. I have seen this time and time again, and this is exactly the work I support people with. If you're interested in learning what phase of the transition you're in right now and how my pyramid of reinvention process can help you get unstuck, I invite you to book a Clarity and Next Chapter call with me. We look at what triggered your transition, what phase you're in, and what kind of action would actually support you right now. Not with rushing, not forced, just some grounded clarity. You'll find the link in the show notes to book this call with me. And wherever you are today, remember this, my friend. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're in the middle of becoming, and there is a thoughtful way through that is proven and that works. As always, thanks for listening, and remember, it is truly your time now. If this episode resonated, and if you felt yourself thinking, she's describing exactly where I am right now, I offer Clarity and Next Chapter calls for listeners of this podcast. In it, we'll talk through where you are right now, what may be stopping you from moving forward, and what your next chapter could look like. I'll also share how I support people through career and life transitions. You can book this call directly using the first link in the show notes under Clarity and Next Chapter Call.